That's not a catfish. It's 4 meters of predatory fish with a mouthful of fangs the length of your thumb, and it hunted the rivers of Pennsylvania, not the ocean. The rivers. Its bones came out of a red roadside bank near a town called Hyner, and it is one of the reasons this state matters more than almost anywhere in North America. Because Pennsylvania is where things first crawled out of the water and stood on land. The oldest 4-legged animal ever found on this continent came out of the same bank. That's your distant ancestor, and this thing was in the water with it. We're going backwards through time to get to them. 11 of them, every one real, and the last one is why the others may have left the water at all. Number 11. Start small and start recent, because the state fossil of Pennsylvania is something most people would step on without looking. It's a trilobite, a flat segmented arthropod about the size of your palm, 3 lobes down its back, armored like a woodlouse, and about as unthreatening as an animal gets, except for the eyes. A trilobite's eyes are not soft tissue. They are made of calcite, actual crystal, mineral lenses grown into the skull, hundreds of them packed into a compound array. Which means when you find one of these in Pennsylvania shale, you are not looking at a fossil impression of an eye. You are looking through the same lens the animal looked through 400 million years ago, still optically functional. Nothing alive on Earth does this now. They crawled the seafloor of a warm, shallow sea that covered this entire state, and they did it for 200 million years, which is a run nothing since has come close to. Number 10. Now jump forward to the Ice Age, and to a hole in the ground in Montgomery County that quarry workers cut into in the 1870s. It was a fissure, a crack in the limestone, filled to the top with sediment and bone. And one of the things they pulled out of it was a tortoise. Not a turtle, a land tortoise, and a big one. The kind of heavy-domed animal you associate with deserts and islands, sitting there in the Pennsylvania record. That tells you something colder than a fun fact. Tortoises can't generate their own heat, and they can't burrow deep enough to escape a hard freeze. If a tortoise that size was living here, then for a stretch of time this landscape had winters mild enough for a reptile to survive them outdoors. Pennsylvania was not always Pennsylvania. Number 9. Same hole in the ground, and out of the same fissure came the bones of a tapir. Tapirs are the animals you see in a nature documentary about the Amazon. Heavy-bodied, pig-shaped, with that strange, short, flexible trunk they use to strip leaves. Central and South America. Dense jungle. Humid heat. That is the entire mental image, and it is wrong because tapirs lived in North America for millions of years, and Pennsylvania was well within the range. Picture the wooded hills of the southeast of this state with a tapir moving through the understory, pulling branches down with its snout. Everything about it looks like a mistake, and it isn't. They were here, they were common, and they were gone by the end of the Ice Age. Number 8. Also in there, in numbers, peccaries. If you've never heard the word, picture something built roughly like a wild pig, but longer in the leg and lighter on its feet, with a heavy wedge-shaped head and a bad attitude. They are not pigs, separate family, New World animals, and the Ice Age version that turns up in Pennsylvania was a herd animal, moving in groups through open woodland, which is exactly why so many of them ended up in one place. And this is the moment to explain what that place actually was, because it changes how you read this entire list. Port Kennedy was a fissure, a vertical crack in the limestone, opening at the surface, usually screened over by brush and leaf litter, dropping straight down. An animal walks over it, and it isn't there anymore. It cannot climb out. Then something comes to investigate the noise or the smell, and goes in on top of it. A fissure is a trap that resets itself and keeps working for thousands of years, quietly taking a census of everything walking around above it, which is why the bone bed at the bottom had the predators in it too. Everything that came for the trapped animals arrived the same way they did. Number 7. And here's what was in there with them. Arctodus, the short-faced bear, the largest meat-eating land animal in the history of North America. Long, straight legs, a short, broad face, and a chest set so high that on all fours it stood eye to eye with a grown adult. Whatever the truth about how it hunted, and paleontologists still argue about it, an animal that size does not fall into a hole because it is stupid. It falls into a hole because it is following something that already fell in. The fisher caught the bear the same way the bear caught everything else, which is a fairly bleak thing to think about, and it's the reason we have its bones at all. Number 6. Also down the hole, a giant ground sloth. Not the small thing that hangs in a tropical tree. An ox-sized animal with a heavy barrel body, shaggy coarse fur, a blunt heavy head, and long curved hooked claws on both forelimbs. The claws were so long that it couldn't put its feet down flat. It walked on the outer edges of them, rolling along on the sides of its own hands and feet. It fed by rearing back on its hind legs, hooking a branch down with one arm and stripping it. Nothing in that forest could kill it. It was too heavy, too strong, and armed on both sides. It just couldn't handle a hole it didn't see. Number 5. Now go further back, past the ice, past the mammals entirely, into the Triassic and Jurassic, when the eastern edge of this state was a rift valley pulling itself apart as the Atlantic began to open. And here Pennsylvania gives you something genuinely strange. In the red rock of the southeast, there are dinosaur footprints, trackways, sets of three-toed prints walking across what was once wet mud, some of them in long lines, some crossing each other. We know these animals were here. We know roughly how big they were. We know how fast they were moving and whether they walked on 2 legs or 4. And we have almost no bones. The soil chemistry that preserved the prints destroyed the skeletons. So there is a whole cast of Pennsylvania dinosaurs that exist only as the marks they left walking away. And a trackway gives you something a skeleton never can. A skeleton is an animal after it stopped. A trackway is an animal in the middle of doing something. You can measure the stride, work out the speed, see where it changed direction, see where 2 of them crossed paths, and which one came through first. Some of these slabs are sitting in Pennsylvania museums right now, and what's on them is a few seconds of a Tuesday 200 million years ago. Number 4. Back further still, to the late Devonian, about 365 million years ago. Pennsylvania is now a hot, low, muddy river delta draining off a young mountain range into a shallow sea, and the water is full of things that look designed by a committee. The best of them is Bothriollepis. It's a fish about the size of a football, except the entire front half of it, head and chest, is enclosed in a rigid box of bony armor plates, like a helmet fused to a breastplate, with 2 small eyes set close together on top. And coming out of that box, on either side, are 2 long, jointed appendages armored in segments. Arms. Not fins with rays in them. Hard, segmented limbs with a joint in the middle, which it appears to have used to prop, shove, and drag itself along the bottom. It's a fish in a suit of armor with arms, and there were millions of them. Number 3. Sharing that water were sharks, and they were already very good at it. The Devonian is when sharks got started, and the ones in these river channels had a build modern sharks abandoned, a fin spine standing up in front of the dorsal fin like a fixed blade, and teeth with multiple sharp cusps rather than a single point, built to grip and puncture rather than slice. They were not enormous. They didn't need to be. In a shallow delta full of armored fish and thrashing lobe fins, being fast and toothy in the middle of the water column was a very good job, and their teeth turn up in the same Pennsylvania rock as everything else on this list, which is the whole point, All of these animals were in one river system at one moment on top of each other. Number 2, and this is the one that changed what we know about ourselves. In 1993, at a red roadside outcrop near Hyner in Clinton County, a team found a single fossilized shoulder girdle. Not a skeleton, a shoulder. But it was the wrong shape to belong to a fish. Worse, it had a heavy, robust structure with attachment points for powerful muscles, the specific architecture you need to hold a body up against gravity and push. That bone belonged to Hynerpeton, a 4-limbed vertebrate, roughly a meter long, living 365 million years ago, and it was the first Devonian tetrapod ever discovered in North America. That is the transition, not a metaphor for it. The actual physical evidence of the moment animals with backbones started to get out of the water and take weight on legs. Every land vertebrate that has ever existed, including you, is downstream of what that animal was doing. And it happened at a road cut in Pennsylvania. And number 1, Hyneria, named for the same town, found in the same rock, and it is the reason the rest of this list should make you uncomfortable. Hyneria was a lobe-finned fish, the same broad group Hynerpeton came from, but it went the other direction entirely and got enormous. Something in the range of 4 meters, heavily built, with thick muscular paired fins and a mouth lined with teeth, including a set of fangs several centimeters long. It lived in the same shallow river channels. It ate the other fish, and it was almost certainly eating early tetrapods too, because they were the right size and they were right there. Now hold that next to number 2. You have small 4-limbed animals in shallow water, and you have a 4-meter fanged predator in the deeper channels beside them. One idea about why anything ever hauled itself into the shallows in the first place, into water too thin to swim in, up against the mud, out toward the bank, is simply that it was the one place this could not follow. If that's right, then the reason we have legs is that something like Hyneria was in the water behind us. So that's Pennsylvania. A trilobite looking at you through crystal, a tortoise that shouldn't survive the winter, a tapir in the woods, a bear at the bottom of a hole, dinosaurs that exist only as footprints, and a river where the first legs on this continent were being tested, with 4 meters of fangs in the next channel over. All of it under the same state, most of it under a road. Which one of these did you not know about? Tell me below, because I'd bet money it's the fish.